I'm the Renegade Gamer, and today I want to discuss remakes in general. Now, I'm going to just concentrate on Squaresoft at the moment because they seem to be the one that's remaking most of the games, or remastering them. I mean, we have Final Fantasy VII in a remaster right now. We also have, sorry, not remaster, remake. We have Final Fantasy XII Remaster was just released. A Secret of Mana that's coming out, I think in January, maybe February. And I just want to say this right now. Okay, if Square Enix wants to, they can remaster a lot of their games or remake a lot of their games. But here's a few games that I think that they could do a pretty good job on remaking if they chose to. And I'll discuss them as we go. So the first game I want to discuss is Brave Fencer Musashi. This is an old PS1 game. It actually had a sequel that came out on PS2. It was an action RPG back in the day. It had some platforming elements. It was generally pretty good. It was something different from the RPG era. And like I said, it did have a sequel on PlayStation 2. I think this would be a good title to remake, get a little bit updated graphics to maybe see what's going to happen with. But, that's an ideal. Something I think would work pretty well. This next one is Threads of Fate. Now, this is a game I played a little bit after it came out. It basically tells the story of Mint and Ryu. They're two different campaigns. They take place in roughly the same area. There's really only one difference between one area that they go a piece. However, the story itself was lighthearted. It was generally enjoyable. Combat was fun at the time. It's a little more aggravating to go back to nowadays with modern conveniences. But also, one other thing. The way this game ended, it ended with the ideal of a sequel that was supposed to go about. That never happened. So, I think this would be a pretty good idea for another remake or remaster. Definitely could improve some of the controls nowadays. It also had a fairly interesting leveling system at the time. Basically, the more you hit an enemy, or you got hit by an enemy, your health will go up. It kind of had the Sega Frontier type of leveling system, but not to the extreme. It was a fairly simplistic game in that aspect. But Ryu could use monsters, Mint could use... Ryu could change into monsters, and Mint could use basically magic. And she fought with chakrams, and he fought with a giant axe sword thing. It was generally just a really fun game when it came out. I'd like to see it remade. Yes, the Front Mission series. Front Mission 3 and Front Mission 4 are both two games that I really, really enjoyed. They were a lot of fun. They were basically tactical RPGs with mechs. Basically, you can make your mech, customize it to whatever you want it to have. You have a jetpack on it. You could have a tank. You could have it floating over water with hovers and everything. It was a lot of fun. The stories were actually pretty interesting because they took place in our world about, I'd say maybe 100 years in the future, roughly, maybe 200. It's been a while since I played the Front Mission series. But I'd like to see those remade in the tactical form, not the action type ones. I really disliked Front Mission Evolved. I prefer Front Mission to be tactical. So Front Mission 3 or Front Mission 4 would probably be a good one to remake. I think they could do a pretty good job and make the story fairly interesting. Once again, plus with everything that's going on nowadays, they kind of have a little bit of a resonance with the story. So just the political upheaval and everything that's going on. There's a lot of that in Front Mission games. So yeah, who knows? Now, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, of course, came out on the PSP. And honestly, I think it's one of the better Final Fantasies that was made, especially as a spin-off. Unfortunately, the PSP didn't exactly get the greatest approval of the customers, unfortunately. However, I mean, there was a lot of good games on it. But Crisis Core was probably one of the best ones on it. Had a very unique leveling system where basically you had these slots going down. Combat in general is pretty fun. It was, I will admit freely, that the random encounters was very high in the game. You would constantly hear entering combat mode, entering combat mode, entering combat mode. But the story of Zack Flair and how that all played out was very good, and this is a fun title. I'd like to see them remaster it and bring it to consoles. But that's just me. So, I don't know, maybe y'all would too. Or at least re-release it on other things besides the handhelds, because I really do think this game could really work better on console. Star Ocean, First Departure. Now this game was remade. It was originally put out on the Super Famicom, if I recall right. Either that or WonderSwan in Japan. It was remade for the PSP here in the States, which is pretty much the only way you could get it unless you wanted a fan translation. It's a pretty good game. I really enjoyed it, and considering the state of the Star Ocean nowadays, putting out the First Departure is not a bad idea. It was fun. It doesn't have the deepest storyline ever, but the game's a lot of fun. It has a lot of optional characters, a lot of optional scenes. Combat's generally pretty fun in general. Has side quests, of course. The world's pretty interesting. I will admit freely that getting around in the world, you're pretty much walking the entire time unless you get the bunny girl, which I forgot her name. She can transform into a bunny and you can jump around the map. But I don't know, it had a lot of humor. It's a really old school type of RPG for back in the day. It's just generally good. I liked it. So also have the sequel coming up. So what's better than Star Ocean First Departure? Star Ocean Second Evolution, of course. The second game in the series. And many will say it's the pinnacle. I know some people like Star Ocean Till the End of Time more. That's a good game. I have issues with the story at one point. If you ever played it, you know where I'm getting at. But Star Ocean Second Evolution is a really good game. You had two characters you controlled. It was Claude and Rena. And both of them had their own perspective that you were playing through. There's also two characters that were only... There was Claude and Rena both had one character piece that you couldn't recruit on either side, that being Diaz for Rena and Leon for Claude. Story was pretty cool. It took place over the course of 2 planets that you basically go to. Had some alternate dimensions and some pretty cool villains. 12 Wise Men were really cool. Combat was improved from the first game. There's a lot of customization within the game itself. Basically, customize anything you can think of, from food to weapon to armor to items. You basically had item creation, so you just make all kinds of stuff. Outside of a kitchen sink, you can pretty much make anything you can think of, including books and pictures. So, had a lot of optional scenes. It was a fairly big game in general. Also had 80 different endings, which I never watched all of them. I know there were just variations of the ending, but that may be a little bit of a big haul for Square to do. But I mean, even if they just re-released the game or remastered the game and released it, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. It's generally charming, so yeah. Ah, yes, Xenogears. Now, this is a game we probably will never see remade, and it sucks. The main reason is because the creative team that made it basically went to form Monosoft. They went and made the Xenosaga series, and now are currently working on the Xenoblade series, which I haven't got a chance to play the Xenoblade series, which sucks. But anyway, Xenogears. Now, the biggest problem with this game is, of course, the second disc, because basically it's all cutscenes. I don't even know if they could remake this game, to be honest with you. Square, I'd love to see them remake it. I'd love to see them, updated graphics with all the philosophical and stuff in it. All the characters being represented. Fei Wong, Ellie, Saiton, all of them. Bart. But whether or not they would do it, probably not. But still, great game. Wish it would get remade, or at least finished. Because that's the other thing. Xenogears was really rammed into the second disc, and wasn't really... It finished, but it was basically, you saw the cutscenes, had a few playable areas, and you really didn't get to experience what was supposed to be there the entire time. But still awesome game. Would love to see it remade properly, but probably never happen. But I'd like to see it. Now this in here is one of my favorites, Parasite Eve. Out of a lot of RPGs out there, this one still remains up near the top for me. And that's saying something, because I've played a lot of RPGs. But Parasite Eve, of course, is the story of Brea. Takes place during Christmas, during Christmas to New Year's, over a course of 6 days. Has a lot of scientific mumbo-jumbo in it. But generally, it's just a good story, and had a very interesting combat system, where it was basically you ran around, you had a grid that you brought up, and you fired your gun. I would like to see this remade. I would love to see a Parasite Eve remake. I would love to see a remake with Parasite Eve with that combat system, and then the spell system that they had in Parasite Eve 2. I'd like to see all that just combined. And throw Third Birthday out the window. I want nothing to do with that. But I'd love to see the game remade. I think it would be a good idea. But after reception, Third Birthday got and everything else, we probably won't ever see that. Which sucks for a Parasite Eve fan. But yeah, awesome music, great game. Love to see it remade. And of course, the last one is Chrono Trigger, because of course it's Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger's gone down as many people's books as one of the best RPGs ever made. Time travel, of course, starring Chrono, Ayla, Frog, Robo, Luca, and Marley, and of course Magus. I don't really have anything else to say about this one. It was remade once before for the DS. It was a great remake, added some stuff into it, not much, but fixed a lot of translation problems. They went under the hood, fixed a lot of things that was going on there. But I still think we could see I still think a 3D remake would be awesome. But who knows? I mean, we've been waiting for another sequel to the Chrono series for quite some time. We got Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. But yeah, I'd love to see a remaster done for the consoles on this. I'd love to see a sequel, Square, finally done for this. But who knows? But yeah, so that's my list of the games I'd like to see remade, remastered on the PS4. Or even the PS3 if you want to go back one generation. But, if they're going to do all these remasters and everything else, I'd say go back to some of the other products you have.